Welcome to our Women in Leadership online short course webinar. The agenda for today, which you received along with the invite, looks a little bit like this. We'll hear from Refiloe Peu, our channel director. You'll have an opportunity to chat with Professor Anita Bosch, who'll give you some insights about the course. I'll be taking you through some of the highlights of the course so you can get a look and feel for what the course looks like, and we'll be happy to handle any of your questions as we go. If what we can address as we go, we'd love to do. So if we're speaking and you're thinking of a question, please feel free to pop it in the chat. We'll address what we can at the end of the session. Otherwise, we're happy to get back to you and converse with you offline about your questions and queries. Let me hand over to Refiloe.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Refiloe Peu, and as Michelle has alluded, I am the Director for Digital Learning at stellenbosch Business School, Executive Development. And on behalf of myself and the SBS Ed team, I'd like to thank you all for accepting our invite and for joining us this afternoon as we launch our long-awaited online Women in Leadership short course program. We're extremely excited to finally be going live with this program, and in this session, we will be exploring the insights of women in leadership, the why, the what, the how of developing women leaders with our esteemed faculty member, Professor Anita Bosch. And shortly after that, we will be taking you through the highlights of the short course itself with Michelle Wolfswinkel, who you've just heard from. And now I'm pretty sure most of you, if not all of you, did not join to hear me speak. And thus I would like to introduce our faculty, Professor Anita Bosch, who is a professor at Stellenbosch Business School, where she holds the research chair for women at work. And as you can see from the slide, Anita's experience spans from being the global UN facilitator of the UN Gender Equality Program to being the editor of the Africa Women's Report. Prof. Anita, we are extremely thankful and grateful to have you working with us on the writing, the designing, and the delivery of our Women in Leadership short course program. And now enough from me, and over to you, Prof.
Thanks so much. It's wonderful to be with you all. It's great to be with USB Ed as partner of the business school, the Stellenbosch Business School. And I'm very, very excited about this particular program. We've moved from an idea about what makes for something to be different when you're a woman leader, and how can we make sense of this in our world? And so the why for the course is really, as you would all know in the room, there has been a massive shift in gender representation, and that shift brings about a number of issues, both in workplaces, but also in the private sphere, and then society as well. The workplace can, in many instances, be better regulated. There's a lot of laws in place, and then also companies that want to do the right thing. But if we want to look at really lasting transformation and change, we also have to look at ourselves and think about our roles as women leaders within society, within our households, in our private lives. Women should be economically active. When we're economically active, we have a lot more saying power. We're able to also help those that we care for, and those that does not just include children. It includes very often the caregiving role is one of the roles that a lot of women quite readily take up. And so what we know in South Africa is that there are many more households that are headed by women. And so the economic activity should be coupled with that so that we can actually move the nation forward. And then the big thing is women don't just pitch up and knock on the door and want to start working or start up their own businesses, just because they need the income. We have a lot of talent that we can share. And that's another big reason. So why this particular course? If you are out there and you identify as being a woman, for us to galvanize and say what it is that we offer uniquely, but also what are some of those unique inflection points that we deal with, and how can we then do this better. So if we move on to the what, then this particular course, and there are many ways in which we could approach a women in leadership course, but this particular one is done around a role identity lens. We have many identities that we try on throughout our life course. Sometimes we kind of get stuck in some of them, but and that may or may not be the choices that you make for your life. But the more important thing is to be aware of these different roles. They are not always for women roles that are specific to childcare. Often that is the first thing that we think of and the first role that we sort of latch onto. But there are a multitude of other roles in our lifespan, and these roles can morph. They can be quite important at a particular period in our lives and then wane later on. In fact, some earlier research that I did showed that for women, Black African women that are in dual career couples, for them, their marital role wanes over the life course. The career remains really important. And for men, it was the opposite. So it's interesting how these roles play out throughout our lives, but also then how we take them up and which of these roles we decide to take up in different ways, because we all have different circumstances. And then when we take up these roles and understand the importance that different roles play in our lives, those create different tension and inflection points. And I specifically, when we designed this course together with Michelle, I said to her, I don't want to talk about the barriers that women face, because men also face barriers in the workplace. It's of no use for us to talk about these barriers and belabor them and kind of like, it's like putting a branding mark on somebody and now you walk around, you're a woman with all of these barriers. It's not useful, it's not helpful. But certainly some of these roles that we fulfill are in direct opposition to the roles that we fulfill in the workplace. And so in terms of that, there's a lot of tension and inflection points. And if we understand these as tension points, we can find our way through it. If we understand where there are real inflection points where you have to make a choice, a deliberate choice, then we also know that those are areas that women can be advised on to make different choices, perhaps, to what they might have done if they were not informed about it or didn't know a lot about it. So how will we be helping you through this? The first thing is that we as women need to inform organizations if they're not already informed, and organizations that are already proactive will already be on this pathway, that if there isn't organizational commitment and there is a general gender washing that happens in workplaces, saying, yeah, we're all for the promotion of women, we're all for the advancement of women, we welcome more women in, but for instance, our budgets are still done according to the traditional way. There's, for instance, no real budget around maternity leave, there's no real budget around people, not just women, doing caregiving, and that it's a deliberate item on budgets, then we're really busy with gender washing and not putting our money where our mouths are. So first thing is to be informed, and therefore to be able to inform our context, our workplace context in which we work. And then the aspect of thinking of ourselves as leaders. What does that mean to be a woman leader? Yes, we can say it's a leader. But there are different nuances to being a woman leader. How do I pitch up? How do I take certain things up when I enter into confrontation, when I negotiate, and so forth? And if I'm aware of those things, I can create better social capital and create better opportunities for myself in the future. There's a lot of benefits around being specifically a woman leader. And during the course, we'll be also looking at what that means then for moving into the future and creating social capital. And then the big question, if I understand all of the roles that I fulfill and I understand my place in the workplace and I understand some of these tension points and also those inflection points where I really have to choose, what am I going to choose? Am I going to choose this particular route, or do I choose something different that is running in parallel to taking up a leadership role in an organization? And do I then choose to become a leader in a different way and enact that in my different roles in different ways? And so I'm going to stop at that point and I'm going to hand back over to Michelle to take us further.
Thanks, Prof. Anita. It's a wonderful sort of a theoretical, emotional, a substantial background to the course. What I will be doing in my section is literally letting you dip into the course, showing you some of the highlights from the course, showing you a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of it, all informed by what Prof. Anita said. So I was the digital course designer, proposal and design specialist that worked with Prof. Anita in developing this course. And we landed on a learning journey that looks a bit like this. The course spans 7 weeks. This is a fully online short course that spans 7 weeks. And what we decided to do right at the beginning of the process was to make it as practical as possible so that women don't go through 6 weeks of learning theory. So what we've done is we've matched a module of learning theory with a practical application of it. For instance, in the first 3 modules that you see at the top of the screen there, it's all about sharing the theoretical points that Anita's just spoken about. And in the bottom 3 modules, each of these then allow learners to apply learning to developing their leadership role identity, to developing social capital, and to looking at diversity and inclusion in their context. So it's almost like the first 3 modules are all theory, and the second set of modules is about applying that theory. Let's see what you do with it in your own context as a woman in leadership. You'll see that each of these modules are a week long. So we release them to learners at the beginning of the week. They have then the duration of the week and weekend to complete their learning. There is one webinar in the middle of the, let's say, the theoretical and the practical parts of this course, which will be hosted by Prof. Anita or similar, so that we can really get into a nice conversation about women in leadership and the issues that they face, just in time so that you can apply that to your practical modules. You'll see at the bottom of the screen in week 7, we allow our participants to complete their overall course assignment, but we've made it nice and easy for them. Like I keep thinking about the irony of already overworked women that are already overcommitted in the workplace and in their home lives, having to do an online course. So what we've tried to do is create the assignment so that it's iteratively released. So after week 4, question 1 of the assignment is released to you. After week 5, question 2 is released for you. After week 6, question 3. So you don't have to do the entire assignment in 1 week. You can actually start working on it as you go through the course. I wanted to give you a view of just the nature of the course, the sort of background nuts and bolts. So you'll see this on the course brochure as well. The course is aimed at women who hold leadership positions and those that are earmarked for further leadership development roles. I think it's really good for a woman in her career trajectory to be doing a course like this early on in her development so that she can understand the subtle nuances. It is a fully online asynchronous course, which means self-paced learning in your own time. And we're talking about 6 to 8 notional learning hours. What that basically means is that it's entirely self-paced, and we think that it would take the average English second language speaker between 6 to 8 hours to work through all of the learning content, once or twice, the videos, the additional resources and activities, to engage and interact on the discussion forum, and to do their own sort of type of learning summaries. So set out that amount of time. You may find that you do it quicker, you may need more time. And the great thing is that you can play those 6 to 8 hours in any way that you'd like to. If you want to do a consistent half hour a day, let's say, or if you want to do it all on a Sunday afternoon, it really is up to the personal choices of the female participant involved. The course is fully online learning content. We'll give you a little glimpse of that shortly. Enriching videos and a whole bunch of online resources that we refer them to, several statistical women's report resources, etc. And then our videos here contain course of videos, which we filmed with Prof. Bosch and which we've produced specially for the course, a whole bunch of learning videos from LinkedIn Learning, which we merge with all of our courses, and then just other online videos and content. There is a synchronous, which is like this, everybody online at the same time. There's a synchronous faculty-led webinar that's done halfway through the course. And the focus of this webinar is just really to engage around the issues at hand. These webinars are often a highlight for online learners. I mean, yes, it does get lonely studying all on your own. And although there is an engagement opportunity through the discussion forum, but I think this online webinar that's faculty-led, everybody's talking to each other and getting to know each other and really delving into the concepts behind it in almost what's a flipped classroom approach. You know the theory now, let's really talk about what's going on for you in your context. The Engage and Connect discussion forum is a feature of all of our online courses. Think of it as a Facebook chat thread where you can dip in and post something. The next time another participant comes into the course, they can add something, like, share. Your faculty can come in and add additional resources. And if you're in a jam and you're stuck from anything from a technical issue to an issue with the content, we monitor those discussion forums and we're able to get back to you as soon as possible. I did say I'd give you a look at the learning content and just a look at what's happening behind the scenes. This is a short video we've created about the course, and it includes some flashes of the learning content and just the entire rationale behind it. So I'd like to encourage you to sit back. It's 2 minutes long and just have a look at what we've put together for you. At Stellenbosch Business School Executive Development, we believe that women deserve leadership development that focuses on their unique context, reality, and role identity as they navigate tension and inflection points on a personal, social, institutional, and societal level as women in leadership. Professor Anita Bosch, the faculty behind the development and online facilitation of this course, is the Stellenbosch Business School Research Chair for Women at Work and brings rich industry and academic experience and insights and a passion for the development of women in the workplace. The course looks at well-known concepts like the sticky floor, glass ceiling, glass cliff, and queen bee syndrome, but moves beyond the buzzwords to deeper reflection and exploration, developing a leadership role identity, building social capital, and championing diversity and inclusion in institutions and society as a whole. Instead of focusing on barriers and obstacles that block or frustrate the progress of women in leadership, the course reveals tension and inflection points that women are likely to face and provides possible ways to approach and address these pressure points through change and growth. Enriched with case studies, resources, videos, and perspectives of women in leadership, course participants will find relatable, relevant, and applicable insights and guidance to support them on their journey. The Women in Leadership online short course aims to equip women with the awareness, insight, approaches, tools, and skills they need for a fulfilling and sustainable personal and professional life in leadership that brims with future potential. That brims with future potential, she said. That really is what it's about for us. You saw some of the highlights of the course coming through there, the very engaging and easily navigatable learning content, the video content that we've included in there. You might have seen 4 of our colleagues flashed across the screen momentarily in what we call perspective videos, where we took real women, not chairs of some international global body, but real women that we work alongside. And we asked them to share their perspectives on social tension points for them, things that they're grappling with in their reality. Our conversations following on those videos is very much, how can you relate to this woman? What are some of the issues that you feel in this regard too? I mentioned that the assessments are workplace application based. And I just wanted to expand on that a little bit. I think that for any organization playing in the executive development game, it really is about changing job performance. It really is about taking what you've learned and really applying it to your work so that you can perform better and so that you have a better leadership journey ahead of you. What we've done with the assessments is we have created them in a manner that applies the theory, as I've mentioned, but that actually makes you go out into the workplace and get insights, opinions, feedback, etc., and then helps you structure something, which when you put it together, the 3 questions could almost be a little bit of a leadership development portfolio. This particular video, and I'm just going to show you a snippet from it, is the brief for the individual summative assessment, which is the final course assignment. And I hope you'll see from the briefing exactly how practical it is. This particular question is about the developing of your leadership role identity. But just note how dynamic it is, how many bits and pieces come together in this assignment so that you can see true workplace application. I'm going to drop it in the middle of the video and I'll zoom out as soon as the point has been made.
The individual summative assessment for this course is a written assignment that contributes 60% to your overall assessment mark, making it the largest and most important assessment of the course. Question 1 of this written assignment is released at the end of Module 4. We recommend that you start working on it immediately after completing the module, as this allows you to apply the learning while it's still fresh in your mind, and it takes some pressure off you during week 7, which is allocated to completing and submitting the overall assignment. This assignment question asks you to develop your individual or personal leadership role identity as a woman in leadership. To do this, you will need to apply some of the leadership theory from the module, identify a suitable leadership style and related behaviors, reflect and obtain feedback from others to ascertain your current leadership style and related behaviors, examine your role as a woman in leadership in relation to this leadership role identity, pinpoint development areas and support needed, and then provide an implementation plan to guide you. You are provided with an assignment.
I'd like to pause that there and just allow you to reflect on all those little bits that go into the development of this final assignment. The fact that it's about your application of theory, finding insights from others, and even your line manager and mentor in the workplace, reflecting on what you'd like to be, and then even pulling that through into an action plan for implementation. So a really robust workplace application of our assignments. A quick look forward at the Women in Leadership course intake dates. We have 3 scheduled intakes for this year, all of which are very popular. And we're giving them to you ahead of time in case you want to incorporate it into a larger development plan for your Women in Leadership participants. The first intake is happening soon on the 8th of May. There's a July and September intake. And as I mentioned at the beginning, this is a 7-week course, start to finish, of which 6 weeks is the learning content. On the right-hand side, I'd like to show you, just point out to you that we have customized intakes of this course. We could do something called a closed intake, which is when your organization, let's say, sends us 20 women and says, we'd like these women to be developed as part of a larger organizational program. If you could keep them in a closed intake, what we can do for you then is customize things like the assignment, have some of your women mentors drop in on the course and add value, etc. So we're happy to talk about that. We found that we're currently running quite a few robust Women in Leadership programs, of which this course is then part of the overall program. We're, for instance, doing for a very large mining company in Africa, we're busy doing an 8-month program where women are being taught everything from negotiation skills, writing skills, and then the actual Women in Leadership course is part of that overall program. We've also just taken up a group of women from a large banking institution who are running through the Women in Leadership program, but this with some add-ons, for instance, where they are presenting to their board their insights from this Women in Leadership course, and they're also then making suggestions to the diversity and inclusion committees of their organizations of how they can add value and change their approach to women in leadership to be more inclusive, or whatever their insights and findings are. So a rich array of ways in which we can accommodate your participants for this course. The person to speak to for all of this would be our digital channel director, Refiloe Peu. We'll pop her details up for you on screen in just a moment. That takes us to the end of our content part of this webinar. I have not been monitoring the chat while I was busy with all the slides and things, but we are happy to move on to your questions and just get a feel for how it is that we can assist you with this program, and if there's anything else that you would like to know. Any questions?
Perhaps Michelle, yeah. Sorry, there's a question about the slides being shared, and I'm sure you can organize that. I just also want to say, you know, often we think about leadership as an end state, right? It's a destination, and with this course, you know, who's really the target group? As you heard, Michelle spoke about, you know, different ways in which the course can be form part of awareness creation. But I do want to say that whether you're young or more mature, the insights of this course helps you to think about yourself and really reflect on who you are and what it is that you value, and therefore how you want to take the next step in terms of your leadership journey. So whether it is that you're, you know, either planning courses or you yourself would like to enroll for this course, and it's specific to, you know, quite younger women, or whether it's women that are a little bit more mature, there's really something in it for every one of those let's say, life stages, for us to understand how our life roles change over time, and for you to start thinking about what the next elegant step is. And that is really important, was really important for me, for us to bring to the market. Because often it's sort of a young leaders or a mature leaders, but not something that has a gift for where you're just at in your life.
Thanks, Anita. Yeah, well pointed out. It's interesting with the set of women that we currently have from the banking institution FNB. It's interesting to see the different levels, because some of them are new Gen Z talent, and some of them are bank managers and people who've been there forever. And to see the engagement between these women of the different levels has been very rewarding, because that's in that engagement that we share so much about our insights along the journey, right? I'm just checking to see if there are any questions. There's a question about the slides being shared. Yes, this entire orientation session was recorded. It will be shared on our YouTube channel, and everybody who has RSVP to this session will receive a recording of it. I want to suggest, seeing that we've finished our time slot, that if you have any further questions, you contact Refiloe Peu, our channel director, or any of the other contacts which you've made that have brought you here, where all roads will lead to us, and we'll be very happy to chat to you further about your interest in this course. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Prof. Bosch, for being here. And we look forward to speaking to you further offline.
Thank you very much, Michelle.